I was looking at one of your Super Bowls where you averaged 22 yards of completion. Brady this weekend averaged 9. But you've never held that against Brady, that kind of systematic thing. Because you threw the ball deep. Ben throws it deep.
Yeah.
New England doesn't. It's a lot of nickel and dime stuff, but you don't hold that against when you watch Brady play.
You can't. That's the game is the game today, as we all know, in the last 15 years, is a passing game.
Yes.
It's all about passing. That's why guys like myself and Staubach and Kenny Stabler and Bob Greasy, Kenny Anderson, we all threw for 2,800. If you threw for 3,000 yards, that's a pretty good year. It's just the way the game has evolved and the way the rules have been changed to help offense, because what they have all found out is points, touchdowns, passing equates to ratings. Ratings equate to more money for the NFL, and that's how this thing's evolved.
Would it be terrible? But you're a big man physically. You had a great arm. I've told you the story. I used to mimic you when I threw a football, and it was to the detriment of my game.
You know, it makes me feel so good because sometimes, Kristine, you get the feeling that people don't realize that you really were pretty good.
No, yeah, you were.
You know, and
I used to mimic you.
I get my feelings hurt because that Fox bunch, you know how they are.
Oh, yeah.
Always
they don't
putting
give you
me
credit?
No, God, no.
Always putting me down, always making fun of me.
I remember how great you were.
Thank you, dear.
I
Can I
watched
say dear?
your
Because I know
highlights.
around the climate nowadays.
Yeah, we treat you a lot better than the other guys. But I would say this. Would you, at least psychologically, with that cannon arm, you and Namath, would you struggle if the coach said, listen, it's bubble screens for you, Terry?
Well, if you listen, bubble screens. I threw what's called quick screens.
Yeah.
We call them quick screens. If the corners are way off and you've got Swan and Stallworth, you need 4 or 5 yards, maybe break a tackle and get 15 or 20. We would do the quick screens, especially if the corners weren't quick reactors. So we call it a quick screen, not a bubble screen. Now the bubble is because they got 2 of the people over there, so it's 3 of them together, and they go, and they catch you. But I wouldn't have a problem with it because that is the system. That's the kind of you look at the Saints and Drew Brees and all the yards that he throws for. But I don't look at the yards as so much. It's like watching Ben yesterday and the composure and the great throws under pressure in a playoff game. I look at Breeze and the great throws in the second half and the composure that they have and the accuracy that they have. I look at Case Keenum, same thing, and I looked at the kid in Philadelphia, Nick Foles, and I just marvel because you have to be poised. You've heard me say this so many times, Colin. You have to be poised under adversity when the pressure's on and you're playing at home or on the road. And that's the number one quality for a quarterback.
Poise.
It's not bubble screens and stuff like. You watched the throws Ben made yesterday, and I sat there and he throws 5 touchdown passes, 469 yards, and they lose 45-42. Are you kidding me?
I thought Ben was remarkable yesterday.
Amazing. And I made a comment. I think I did it on the air. They don't normally let me talk. Have you noticed?
Yeah, I do.
Because
Really?
I'm the smartest one up there.
And they don't understand
But
it.
they want me to embarrass the other guys.
Sure.
But the comment was, we're finally seeing great offenses beat great defenses. Who ever heard of such? You saw the Saints just pound Minnesota in the second half. You saw Pittsburgh just nail Jacksonville 45-40. Put 42, right. Almost 600 yards in offense.
Now, Big Ben, I never bought into this retirement. I thought he had an issue with Todd Haley, who through my NFL.
That's been rumored.
Yes,
that's been rumored.
I have a very good source that I trust who has always said.
Who is it?
I'm not going to tell you, but he's good. And he told me a couple years ago, he said, listen, Haley's more confrontational. Big Ben's not.
Right.
Big Ben doesn't want to be yelled at. That's not his,
Terry doesn't want to be yelled at.
Some guys don't.
No, I didn't like it.
No, Peyton Manning can be a little more confrontational. Big Ben's not. I watched Big Ben yesterday, and I'm going to ask you, I don't think he's close to retirement. I'm sorry. I don't think. No. Did you know? Did you have bad hips? When was the moment you decided, because you were still very good, hey, I'm just done with it?
I snapped the ligament in my right elbow.
Oh, that's right. You snapped a ligament.
Way to know your show, bud.
I'm sorry. I remember.
I mean,
now.
I'm supposed to be your hero.
It popped out.
It popped.
Okay.
And I would have been the 4th Tommy John surgery, and the doctor, Joe, said, build the muscles around the ligament, and see if you can deal with the pain. And it was just no way I could do it. I tried, but I couldn't deal with the pain.
Minnesota dominates the first half, and then the Saints, Drew Brees puts on a Hall of Fame clinic in the second half. I mean, just dropping dimes over the shoulder, and then he somehow, just had this feeling in the last 20 minutes of the game, you're like, Drew Brees is going to pull this thing out. He does.
Right.
And then Case Keenum.
The fourth down pass, the O-cut, the sideline route.
Yes.
Ugh. Gutsy call because the plays they'd run before that were, I had some questions about to the sideline at kind of an angle. But then the sideline, the fourth down was just like, wow, because I'm sitting there, and I'm a Saints fan. I'm not going to lie to you. I am a Saints fan. I'm screaming and hollering. I'm the only one that picked the Saints to win yesterday.
Yeah.
And if I win that game, if they win, then I jump to the front in our pick system.
So you were big on the Saints.
All over it.
Well, they had it won. Can you explain to me the defensive back for the Saints on the final play? I don't understand. It seems obvious to me what you should do, which is Vikings are out of timeouts.
Right.
Just hold him. I mean, when you watched it, what was Jimmy Johnson's theory on this?
Jimmy thinks that, because this is what Jimmy said. Jimmy said, and he's flying to Miami right now, so he can't hear me say this. But Jimmy thinks that he said he probably told him on the sideline, look, don't get a pass interference. All right. Clock stops. Boom. You get the yardage, which, by the way, I think is the dumbest rule in the NFL. You throw 50-yard pass interference, you get the ball, spot foul right there. I hate that rule.
No, it's college.
I love college.
So
go back, give 15 yards.
Yeah, it's amazing to me how punitive.
And that had and I would never second guess Jimmy Johnson because he should be in the Hall of Fame.
Right.
And it's just a shame he isn't. But I disagree because the way the Williams, the defensive back, ducked his head. We see that so many times. They duck their head and go in and knock them off their feet.
That's what I thought.
Just stay back. You stay to the outside. It's covered two deep safeties. You're staying underneath. And you got to keep your eye on him. Go up, wrap him, keep him in bounds. Game over.
Game over.
Game over.
See, the kid's a rookie. Listen,
he played great at interception earlier in the game. If this is sometimes how you lose technique. You cannot. The one thing you coach in the NFL and college is technique. Jim Mora just got one of the great coaches. I can't wait for him to get another head coaching job. I love this guy. But one of the things he's good at is teaching technique. When in Atlanta, technique. And when you duck that head or when you jump in the air with the ball, you're no longer an athlete. You lose control. And when you duck that head, you get embarrassed. And he got embarrassed.
Let's go to the onside kick by Mike Tomlin. I didn't get it. You wouldn't do it.
No.
Is it possible? Because I've been rougher on Tomlin than anybody I
You're
know in the
horrible.
media.
You ought to feel sure. I mean, honestly, you're a bad boy.
But could I defend him here? Listen, the Jags had no 3-and-outs all day.
Right.
We can't stop them. I'll give myself 12% chance to get the onside kick. Is that what he's thinking?
Well, okay, fine. What was it, 7 seconds left or something like that?
Well, 2:18 with the onside kick, and Pittsburgh had 2 timeouts.
2 timeouts remaining. You got to listen. I can understand Mike kicking the onside kick, but execute it. They didn't go 10 yards.
No, they didn't execute it.
And they got a penalty on it. So if you're going to try it, at least get it down there 10 yards. And that's not Mike's problem. That's the kicker's problem. So I probably would not have kicked it. Now, there's 2 things going here. Now they get the ball. Okay, let's say you don't. You punt it away, and they keep the ball and game over. And then you're going, well, why didn't you try the onside kick?
That of all the misgivings people have about Tomlin this morning, I can at least make the argument is they didn't stop the Jags once all day.
45 points.
Blake Bortles on a warm weather team, cold weather, flawless.
I'm telling you, shocking. Shocking.
Pittsburgh.
The whole yesterday was shocking. I mean, it was like spinning on like an exorcist, whatever that movie, that girl's head spinning around.
That's a Linda Blair exorcist.
Yeah, that is nuts, man. Yesterday was, I think the whole weekend, actually, when you look at Philadelphia and Atlanta and how the Foles came in, and now Case Keenum in Minnesota, both guys, one took the other's job away from him, and they were both with the Rams, and then they get released, and then comes Goff. And now they're both facing one another, in an NFC championship game. I mean, this is just stuff. You can't write this. You can't make this up.
Hey, by the way, I'm going to throw you some information here.
All right. I like it.
People, I've said this for years. People get very angry with me that wide receivers are icing. They're not the cake. Offensive line, coaches, quarterbacks are the cake. Wide receivers are icing. So the best wide receiving cores in the
I know. And he says this right to the receiver's face.
I said
too.
right to their face.
Who gave you this information? Oh, you did this?
This came from Colin.
Oh, this
A lot
is
of
yours.
stuff
Okay.
working up there.
All right, so they're the icing.
Not the cake. The cake is the quarterback, the coach, and the O-line.
And you also say that cake doesn't necessarily need
Yeah, if
icing.
you eat just icing, you throw up. You could just eat cake. You can't just eat icing.
Have you ever had German chocolate cake?
Oh, yeah, it's terrific.
Okay, come on, take your fingers and swipe it across and get the pecan. Come on, you're telling me that is not. I'll throw up if I could eat all of that. That's some good stuff.
Okay, so the 4 best receiving cores in the playoffs.
All right.
Pittsburgh, Rams, Atlanta, KC, all out. 3 other best receiving cores in the league. Giants, Oakland, Detroit didn't make the playoffs. 7 best receiving cores in the NFL out. Jacksonville lost theirs week 1. They're in the AFC Championship. New England lost Edelman. They're in the AFC Championship. Philadelphia's are below average. Receivers are overrated. Antonio Brown, everybody's, oh, my Antonio Brown. None of these receivers.
Bub, let me ask you something.
All right, you go ahead.
How much did you have to drink or smoke yesterday? 'Cause I'm telling you, you're wrong here.
You love receivers.
Love them. Look, Swan, Stallworth, are you kidding me? They're Hall of Famers. You think, hey, if I had have been an accurate quarterback, they'd have never made it. I deliberately threw those balls high and behind them. You're wrong, Colin. Everybody is looking for Julio Jones. Everybody's looking for Brown. I mean, you have to have them in today's game because the game, the meat and potatoes is the offensive line.
It really is.
And then, of course, you got to start with the quarterback. But then you've heard me say, how many times? I've been in my 5th time on the show, and I've always said this, Blake Bortles gets hammered. Case Keenum. You have to have, number one, you have to put the pieces around them. If the pieces are around them, how many guys have we seen in New England go on and make tons of money and then they're no good when they leave there?
A lot.
It's because they got a lot of good people up there and they coach them. So I do believe that you look at the catches. I thought Antonio Brown
God, he
made
was
just amazing. And no, here's one thing. I was sitting there with Howie, and I said, there's this, a bend is so good. When the defensive back's head's at you, back of his helmet, go ahead and throw it right at the receiver. He ain't going to catch. He's not going to stop it. And I thought Ben did a great job yesterday because 2 or 3 of those were just like, there's no way you throw that football. Not open.
You know what's interesting? We never give.
But you're wrong. I think they're the icing, and I want them. Give me the weapons, Jack.
Okay. So.
I didn't change your mind, but I'm not trying to.
No, I liked your opinions, though. It was interesting.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.